You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
So excited to be here with you today on this Mindset and Motivation Monday, where we're all looking to start our week off right. We're looking to get off on that right foot, as they say, and really start the week with energy, with zest, with passion, and vitality for wanting to move forward in life. But one of the things that I keep coming up against is a lot of people's questions of, well, I've already tried to get well. I've already tried to lose the weight. I've already tried to find the right person, switch careers, whatever it might be. And we'll talk about those things today, but they're dejected, they're tired of failing, and they feel like that no matter what they do, no matter what they try, even if someone else has already done it and succeeded, that they can't find that same win, that they can't get themselves out of where they're currently at right now. And I want to talk about that because I just finished up an amazing week out in LA, all the way from Boston, all the way across the coast to the West Coast in LA. And I met with so many amazing people. To think about myself growing up, just Medford, Massachusetts, normal kid growing up, and now out here meeting with some of the biggest and best people in their field. And they're just so brilliant. And I just had the opportunity to meet with them. And so when I talk with them, I'm always looking to say like, hey, in a roundabout kind of way, where did you start from? Where did you kind of get your big break? And here's the amazing thing. It's that every single person that I know of, that I work with specifically, that every single one of them, that person that's successful right now, was first very unsuccessful. They had tried many, many things in fields. One of the people that I just did a half-day video shoot with that you'll see in the future, I actually had him on as a guest expert before, is Thomas DeLauer. Before he transformed into the health guru that he is today with 15 million video views a month and all of that, he was about 100 pounds overweight. And, he was not the epitome of health that he is today. So what I'm saying to you is that no matter where you're at right now, that's where everybody starts. Not just you, it's pretty much where everybody starts. Now, not always in all facets of life, right? Sometimes people grow up with a little bit more advantages. They come from a wealthier family or whatever it is, and they might get more breaks there. But they might not get those same breaks in terms of their health or in terms of their body transformation or in terms of their spirituality or their mental health, any one of those things, right? Relationships, they can struggle in certain areas. And some of us do great in certain areas, but not in others. But here's the difference between the people that I've met with and that I've just found in life and in my own practice, which I'll share some stories of today, is that the people who are successful now is that they didn't let their failures stop them and they didn't dwell on them. So even when I talk to them about, all their different failures in the past, it's almost like they don't even think of them as failures. And that's what I want to chat with you about today, because I've definitely moved in that same direction as well. As I've maybe gotten a little bit more mature, a little bit more experience, I've found that failure is more of a teaching-based lesson. And that's so hard to understand and think about, right? When you're tired of failing because you haven't yet succeeded. So believe me, I'm sensitive to that topic and I totally understand where you're coming from. But I see a lot of people come into my practice, whether I'm chatting with them over Skype anywhere in the world or my health coaches are working with them. There's always a sense of failure. And the reason they've come to see us is that they're tired of failing, that they want to get to the bottom line of what they're dealing with. A lot of people tag me on Instagram and it's someone struggling with migraines or someone struggling with autoimmune and they're struggling with psoriasis or alopecia or any of these issues that my team and I help people with. And what they're trying to do is to share with these people who are resonating right now with the same frequency as their dis-ease that you can break out of this. But here's the problem. A lot of people only see their failures. They believe that because they have migraines or the autoimmune or the alopecia, whatever it is, that nothing works for them. They've tried all the different pharmaceuticals, they've tried the drugs, they've tried different interventions, and they're not seeing the relief that they want. So they believe that, okay, maybe this works for some people, but there's no hope for me because they haven't seen that hope yet. But that's the issue right there, is that if you constantly dwell on your last failure, there's very little hope that you will move forward. And if you can't move forward, you can't get well. You can't make that next breakthrough. I want to share with you a few of those examples because I don't advertise this and I don't do a lot of this, but on my Tuesday afternoons, I actually do some mentorship. It's just my way of giving back, and I love working with this health field. So if it's someone looking to start a podcast or write a book or open their own practice or whatever it might be, I try to share some of those things with them that I think may shorten their learning curve, where they haven't had success previously or they want to kind of shorten that learning curve. And that's what I do. And over, like if we're talking about work is one of my big 5 that I'm talking about. Well, a lot of people are worried that, well, okay, it's too late to start something new or they don't have the experience or whatever it might be. And I always tell them, like, listen, here's the deal right now. Wherever you're at right now, let's say that you're a computer programmer and you have a job, the job's going well, but it's just not satisfying you in terms of your passion. A lot of people in the finance field, the same thing. I work with a lot of people transitioning from maybe IT or finance into this health-based field. And I say, you already have all the skills you need to be great as an IT or computer programmer or a financial analyst, whatever it might be. You're already good at that. You can go back to that at any time you want. You could probably even talk with your work if you were thinking about leaving and trying a work-based transition, saying, hey, you know what, here's the thing. I actually love my job here. I love what I'm doing, but it's not really my passion. I know I would regret it if I didn't try following my passion. Right? And so like, it's going to be hard for your job to fault you. You're not working for a competitor. You're not going on your own in the same job. Nothing like that, right? But there's the other space of that I always talk about as well, is that you don't need to blow everything up in your life sometimes. You know, let's say you are that finance person and you want to try to get into some health coaching or personal training or nutrition. Why can't you do it as a side gig? You know, a lot of people, they work from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock or 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock or 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock, whatever it might be. Well, I'm guaranteeing you that if you follow a lot of the lifestyle-based advice that I give you, you can wake up an hour earlier. You can wake up 90 minutes earlier. So, for example, if you went to bed at, let's say, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, which I know is too early for a lot of people, but you can work yourself back to that eventually because you're waking up now with a purpose. And your purpose is to get up by 5:30 or 6 o'clock. And you don't have to be at work till 9, 8:30, 9. I'm telling you right now, you could work from 6 a.m. or let's say you just get yourself ready in the morning. You kind of ease into your morning like I talk about on how to do that. And let's say you work from 6:30 or 7 till 8 o'clock or 8:30 and then head into work. In that period of time, you can study for the certification. You can do your online course. You can begin to read or you can begin to implement. You can write your blog post. You can do your podcast. You can do those things without even having to leave your current job. So what I'm saying is that there is a way around this. You don't have to feel like, oh, you failed, you made the wrong decision in life for your work, whatever it might be. You know, think about it like that. The same thing for weight loss and body transformation. We've worked with so many people in my body transformation studio in Boston, Stephen Cabral Studio, or my Cabral Wellness Functional Medicine practice. And we tell people this, like, here's the bottom line. We can help you lose the weight if your goal is to lose weight and transform your body. We know how to do that. And they say, well, I've already tried diet plans. I've already tried that. And I say, I understand where you're coming from. But here's the difference. We're not going to let you fail. That's the difference. You're working with us as your accountability coach. You're working with us as your health coach, as your personal trainer. We do that. We make sure that you stay accountable. And here's why. Because what happens is this. You tell us, oh, you've tried this, you've tried this, you tried this. We say, great, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put you on our foundational-based program, and then as needed, we'll make adjustments, right? We'll make those adjustments along the way. So as you're failing, we use that as data points. We don't use that as a letdown or as the end of the world-based failure. We use that as a data point, and we can then make adjustments from there. And yes, then you will lose the weight because maybe it is calories. Maybe it is lack of exercise, or maybe it's hormones. Maybe it's inflammation. Maybe it's food sensitivities, right? Maybe it's thyroid. Well, here's the deal. Or maybe it's detoxification. That's a huge thing we do with people. And then all of a sudden they can lose the weight again. So what we do is we focus on really getting your body balanced. What does that mean? Well, we get your body healthy, and then it starts to lose the weight on its own. Same with wellness. We tell people all the time, we don't treat disease. I don't care that you have high cholesterol. I mean, I do, right? I care that you have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, or psoriasis, or migraines, or eczema, and autoimmune, and all of those things. I do care, but I don't care about the name of that thing. I care about the symptom, what you're suffering from right now. But what I really care about is how you got there. I care about you as a person. I care about your story. I care about your then nutrition, your lifestyle, your stress, all of those things. And then what I do is I work to rebalance that. In my book, The Rain Barrel Effect, I talk about my exact protocol. I give you my protocol in that book. That's the second half of the book. And I tell you exactly how I practice. That will be our upcoming certification for level 1. This fall, we'll be teaching people how to really and deeply put that into practice through video lessons. And if you're a health practitioner, an actual certification to make sure that you can then implement this with your patients or your wellness-based clients. But you can do that now, and you can understand that one of the reasons why you've failed maybe with the health part of this is that you're only using one or two components of the entire de-stress protocol, meaning that you may only be using the supplementation part, and that might not be enough, right? If you're not doing the other lifestyle parts, or maybe you've only done the diet, maybe you haven't been taught all of the other different parts of it, and that's so, so important. One more example that I'll give as well is with relationships. People are like, I've already gone on a million dates. I've already tried to meet so many people, whatever it is. Here's the deal. Yes, none of those have worked out. Those have all been failures. But here's what you also need to understand is that along that path, you've learned about all of the different qualities that don't mesh with you, that you're not looking for in someone. So that one time, because all you need is that one time, right? That one time you meet the person who you resonate with on a higher level, right? Who shares a lot of the qualities that you do and that you prefer. And again, understanding that no one is perfect, then at that time, you know that that is the right person. And I think that's so extremely important because a lot of people, they need to go through all of the wrong people to then truly appreciate and be grateful for that one person that they know is the right match for them. And then they will give their all to that person. And hopefully that person will then give their all to them as well. And so what I look at is this, is that I know from my own life is that I've failed way more than I've succeeded. And I would never have admitted that, probably even just 10 years ago. And the reason is this, I always saw failure. I saw failure as weakness. And that was the ego inside of me. But over time, I realized that the way that I've moved forward in life is by constantly failing, recalibrating, learning from that information, trying not to do it again, and then move on to the next method that I would possibly get well. So for example, 17, 18, 19 years old, all failures in getting well, because I was only working through conventional medicine. What could they do? Well, they could test my blood. And if they didn't see anything wrong with my blood, they couldn't help me. But then they would just try to use some pharmaceuticals based on symptoms. So they would give me more antibiotics because they saw I had swollen glands. I mean, they would do all sorts of different conventional medicine-based things, but it was not treating any underlying root causes. So what I did then was I found, and I was very fortunate to do this, a functional medicine practitioner. And 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, extremely rare, but somehow my mother got turned on to this whole thing of functional medicine. She I don't even think that she believed in it, but she was willing to do anything to help her son obviously get well. And that doctor then ran the very first lab test, which of course we offer today because it's just unbelievable how it comes full circle, is that thyroid hormone adrenal test. And that actually showed that I had extremely low cortisol output, low DHEA, low testosterone, low all hormones. And so with that information, I could begin then to retransform what's called the HPA axis, how my brain, my hypothalamus communicates with my pituitary gland, which communicates with my adrenals. And then I could get diagnosed by conventional medicine as having Addison's disease. I didn't really need their diagnosis, but it was like back then you search for, hey, what do I have? Why do I feel this way? And then, of course, go on from there to then get tested for blood sugar-based issues and go on with type 2 diabetes and myalgic encephalomyelitis and all these different issues, right? And I was getting a little bit better because I started to work on that. But then I figured out, again, through functional medicine, I had gut-based issues. I had SIBO, right? Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I had H. pylori, and I also had candida overgrowth. It's that's the mother lode right there. So then I started working on that. And then, wow, my energy levels now really started to recover because I was able to absorb better food. I was already trying to eat well, but all this eating well, yes, it was helping, but not taking me to that next level. Then I repair my gut, and now I can actually absorb that food better. So all of these different things, all of these failures eventually then led to a mindset that enables me now to be able to, every time that there is a setback, every time there is a failure, I see it as, okay, I failed in the past. I know I have. I don't know why that this is not working out right now, but I know that as long as I don't give up, that I'm going to succeed because I'm going to learn from this and I'm not going to try to make that same mistake again. So if the nutritional diet or the supplement or the lifestyle or the whatever didn't work, I say, why wouldn't it have worked? I think about that. And then I try something different. The same with podcasting or work or any of those things. I always say like, okay, wow, that did not go well. Was it the situation? Was it just today? Or is this just not working for me? So I always test all of those theories. And the funny thing is this, like I always tell people I've failed way more than I've succeeded. And here's why. You only need to succeed once. That's it. That's the funny thing, right? If you're looking to lose the weight, if you're looking to get well, if you're looking to find the right person relationship-wise, you're looking to deepen that spirituality, we feel like you have a breakthrough, or even your career, right? The right job, the passionate job for you, you only need to succeed once. That's the funny thing is so you fail so many times before you get that one win. And then that one win is what you were looking for the whole time. But that's also why, I'm very, very careful as to how I now look at success, because I realize that each one of us has to fail over and over and over before we finally succeed. And then oftentimes when we actually succeed, we're like, oh, okay, we achieved our goal. Great. Now what's next? And I talk about that. I've actually talked about it the last couple of weeks on the Mindset and Motivation Mondays. Because once you achieve that goal, we are goal achieving human beings. I really believe that. And when we set a goal for ourselves and we go after it, that is a source of happiness. Because it's a worthwhile goal. It's something like you're doing with your life that matters. So I say to you right now, even if you're not at your ideal body or your ideal health and wellness or job or relationship or any of those things, that enjoy the process. Because once you achieve the goal, you're just going to create another one. I'm telling you right now. And that's not a bad thing either. But it's a great way to look at the process and a great way to look at the journey. Failure is just part of the journey, right? When they talk about the journey, what are they talking about? They're talking about walking the walk. Right? They're talking about putting one foot in front of the other, encountering obstacles. You have no idea what you're going to encounter. And because you have no idea what you're going to encounter, because you haven't seen it before, you haven't done it before, you are inevitably going to fail. And when I say fail, I just mean not usually fall flat on your face, but it's not going to go your way initially. It's just not. And that's because you don't have enough knowledge. You don't have enough wisdom to be able to make that right decision. And again, that's not a bad thing because we're learning a lot about ourselves, but we're learning about life. We're learning about how to achieve that goal. And here's why it's also a great thing. Because now, if you ever start to slide backwards, even when you've achieved that goal, well, what happens is this, you have a blueprint. You have a blueprint for now how to get back to that goal and succeed because you know what it took to get there, especially if you're keeping a journal, you're writing things down. One other thing I'd like to add is that, a lot of people, they do feel a little hopeless right now. They do feel a little lost. And so if you're in that position, initially, in the beginning, what you may want to do is seek out the book or the audio program or the blueprint, the certification, the mentor, the coach, the doctor, whoever it may be, to get you started, right? Because they've already seen people in your position. And a lot of times they've already been there themselves. That's why they've become a coach. Because it's their passion now to give back because they struggled for so long. Someone like myself. I mean, that's why I do what I do. That's why I wrote the book, The Rain Barrel Effect. That's why I record the podcast, the Cabral Concept. I do that because I know what it's like to deeply struggle and struggle for many years without that person maybe to point me in the right direction. And then when I got that person, wow, things were different because they opened my eyes to concepts that I had never, ever heard about. And once I learned that, then I could use that as a springboard to move on to the next. So there's nothing wrong. You don't need to do it all on your own. A lot of people are like, I need to do this all on my own. No, you don't. You do not have to. And trust me, it's a lot easier when you get some guidance from someone that has already been there or they've helped others to do the same thing. So that is helpful. But I have to say this, is that even if you're working with myself or one of the health coaches in my practice or you're following my book, whatever it is, here's the deal though. It's still you. It's still you. So your doctor, your coach, or whoever can give you the guidance. You can take a certification that can give you the guidance, but it's still you doing the work. There will still inevitably be some failure. There'll be some trial and error. There'll be figuring out what works best for your body and you and your mindset and everything. And remember, that is not concrete. It's not set in stone. You're malleable. Things will change. And with change, you can create even greater success. So I look at it as this, I really do, is that at no point do I believe that failure is the end point. It's only the end point if you decide to quit. Because I'll tell you, there are only so many ways that you can fail. Really, I mean, you think about it this way. Like if you're trying to lose weight, you probably know a couple things that have worked a little bit for you and a couple things that haven't. Well, the things that haven't, we're just checking those off the list. They're not going to work. Then we start to look at the things that started to work. Like, hey, I got a little bit of benefit from doing this. Like, okay, well, let's look at that. What about that was different than the things that caused you to fail? Okay, now it didn't work perfectly for you, but that doesn't mean we need to throw the whole thing out. What it means is that we were on the right track, but something wasn't quite right. So a couple adjustments here and there, like maybe you started to do lower carb, mostly vegetables, less grains and processed foods. Great. But it only worked for you for like 4 weeks or 5 weeks. Well, maybe that's because your metabolism started to slow at that point. Maybe all you needed was a once a week refeeding meal. Or maybe what you needed to do is once you plateaued to then ramp up a little bit more exercise or actually take a little time off to kind of relax and cool the inflammation or do something like a 7-day detox. Do any of those things. So what I'm saying is you can be on the right path just making small little adjustments. But the bottom line is this. There are literally, whether it's career or body transformation or wellness or relationships or spirituality, is that there are only so many different ways that you can fail. That's it. So if your job is to simply say, okay, I'm in this because the goal, the end goal is something I'm passionate about, is that it's something in life that I want to achieve. And if that's what you say to yourself and that's truly your goal, then you're going to say, all right, I'm willing to stick this out. I'm willing to go through those inevitable obstacles. I'm willing to understand that as part of the process that I must hit some hardships, that I will hit some failures, but I will not look at them as a negative. I will not look at it as a failure. I will look at it as a teaching point, right? I will look at it as a teaching point, and then from there, I will recalibrate and begin to move on. If you do that, it's a completely different mindset. That's the mindset of a winner. That is the mindset that of someone that will eventually win, that will eventually hit their goal because they're unwilling to give up. They're willing to persevere even through the hard times. And again, I went through hard times as well, and I failed many, many times, and I gave up many, many times. I will tell you that I did. I hit some really, really dark points, and I just let it go for weeks or months at a time. But then I got back on that wagon, as I say, all right? I got back up. I was knocked down. I got back up, and I said, okay, what did we learn from that? There was a lot of pain associated with that failure. Let's not make that mistake again. And so then again, recalibrate, move on. It's a zigzag line towards your goal, right? But eventually you're always moving forward. You're putting one step in front of the other. And I'll tell you right now, I mean, dare I say this, I think eventually you will actually be more proud of your failures than your ultimate success, since it proved to you that you can overcome any obstacle in your way and that you're unwilling to give in or give up. Thank you so much for joining me today on this Mindset and Motivation Monday. I truly appreciate each and every one of your listens. If this show was helpful, please do feel free to pass it along to someone else it could serve. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well finally is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.